Good evening, people. Welcome to a special edition of Reaching Out with Eddie, where my guest today is Judge Felicia Westbrook. She's a Supreme Court. She's an appeal court judge that's running for Supreme Court Central District Post 1. And she's here today. She's been around in Meridian. I gotta say that she's the first judge in the state of Mississippi that just came out into the hood. Now, you know the Justice Court judges would do that, and they haven't done that in a while. But she's been all over Meridian trying to get you to vote for her. Good evening, Judge. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well, Ed. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I mean, she is just so down to earth, people. I tell you, looking at her, it's I mean, this is what we need. This kind of like my sister on the bench, or my mother, or my best friend, and that's what we need. But I imagine she's very good at what she does, because if she wouldn't be where she is. And she's a people person because the people put her in office. Could you tell the people a little bit about yourself, or a lot about yourself?
Okay, well, first of all, thank you for extending the invitation to come on today. My name is Latrice Westbrooks. I am currently a Court of Appeals judge here in the state, the second highest court in the state of Mississippi, and I'm asking the voters in Lauderdale County and Meridian in the 22 county district to vote for me and make me your next Supreme Court justice for the state.
Okay. What made you? How long have you been an appeals court judge? And could you tell the people in the state of Mississippi what is it that an appeal court judge does?
Okay, sure. Well, an appellate court judge hears appeals. So you hear people talk about, I'm going to appeal my case, or I got a right to appeal, or can I appeal? You know, after a ruling comes down from the circuit or chancery or county court, and so we hear the appeals. We hear cases on the record. We don't have trials, we don't hear juries, we don't seat juries, I should say. We don't take witnesses, so we don't do all the things that a trial judge may do. A lot of people are familiar with Hinds County Judge, Circuit Court Judge Adrian Wooten, who's from Meridian, by the way. And Judge Wooten is a circuit court judge. She's a trial judge, and so she hears criminal matters, and she takes them to trial and takes witnesses, seats juries. She sets bail in some instances, and so that's a lot of the things that she does on the ground. If someone is not satisfied with a ruling that comes out of her court, or if a person gets convicted after going to trial, then they will appeal their case, and that's when it comes to the Court of Appeals or the Supreme Court. And so we will look at that, look at everything that took place on the record. Now, the one important critical fact is when you go before Judge Wooten, somebody's going to be sitting before her, and they're going to be, typing. If you can see, me typing, I'll come up and with my fingers like that. Yeah. That's what they're doing. And so they're making a record. And so as they are making the record, and when I say they're making a record, they're taking down everything that's said in court. The only time they're not taking the record or they're not typing is when a lawyer or a judge may say this is off the record. Okay. So, but everything else is on the record, and that record is compiled. So all the evidence that comes in, all the testimony that comes in, the exhibits that you want to have admitted, all of that is made a part of the record. And that record comes to the Court of Appeals, and it comes to the Supreme Court. And we look at everything that's taking place in the record. So if something is irregular, if something is amiss, if something went wrong, if a defendant was prejudiced, or a party was prejudiced, or a juror was not properly seated, then we find that to be an error, and that means that the case, you hear about cases getting reversed back on technicalities.
Right.
Okay. So I would be the court to determine whether or not a case needs to be sent back based on a technicality, and if it does, then it's a reversal. Everybody's familiar with Curtis Flowers' case, right?
Right.
Okay, so the U.S. Supreme Court, before going to the U.S. Supreme Court, that case first went to the Mississippi Supreme Court, and the U.S. Supreme Court found that the prosecutor in that case conducted some egregious errors, or made some egregious errors. And Curtis Flowers' case was reversed by the U.S. Supreme Court. And sent back. So they found those technicalities that warranted the case being sent back or reversed. the Mississippi Supreme Court and the Court of Appeals has that same charge or that same responsibility to do the same thing when the court finds that there has been an error made in the record. So that's a long explanation, but that's pretty much what we do on the Supreme Court, on the Court of Appeals.
I gotta ask you is how often what is it that you miss and what make you want to be Supreme Court judge now as opposed to staying in the appellate court?
Well, I'm doing the work now as an appeals court judge, and I truly believe that representation matters. I come to the bench with 23 years of experience. Both as a judge, having 2 years of experience as a municipal judge prior to becoming an appellate court judge, and also having years of experience as a lawyer that tried cases, handled cases, even handling cases here in Lauderdale County, and over in the Delta as a public defender, as a prosecutor, representing children when they were being mistreated by the school districts and the school to prison pipeline cases, helping people get their records expunged, just doing a lot of work on the ground. And so you take all of that experience and you take it to the Court of Appeals, and I have done that where I have, expressed myself according to the law and the facts through an opinion, and now I can take that same professional skill set to the Mississippi Supreme Court.
So I got to ask you this then: what make you want to go to the Supreme Court if you're able to do that at the appellate court level? Do you see that they're making a lot of mistakes? Do you dissent a lot?
I write separately a lot.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
And it's not just in the form of dissents. It's also, there are different ways you can, technical terms that we have are called concurrent part, dissenting part, concurrent result only,
Right.
A special concurrence. You hear maybe special concurrence a lot or dissents a lot, especially because of Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Right.
But you hear a lot about those terms. So yes, I do write separately a lot. And I do believe that I can now take that same, like I said, professional experience to the Mississippi Supreme Court. And right now, we need more representation at the top.
Right.
There are crucial decisions that are being made on the Supreme Court. You have decisions being made about, criminal matters. Most of the cases that go through our court system are criminal matters. Most of the cases that we hear are criminal matters, both on the Court of Appeals side and the Supreme Court, on the Supreme Court level. Mm-hmm. Car accident cases, divorces, child custody matters, insurance matters, especially when you are being run by your insurance company. Those cases go directly to the Supreme Court. So, there are a lot of decisions that are being made on that level, and we need to have representation there. I think you and I both can appreciate that diversity matters, inclusion matters.
Oh, yes.
And so when decisions are being made about your family, about your community, your neighborhood, it's important to have, someone who represents you at that table. There's a level of discussion or breadth of discussion that can take place when we're all sitting at the table. You can bring your experiences, I can bring mine. We can talk about the law, we can talk about the facts of the case, and there, that the law turns on nuances. And so on things that you may not consider. So if you, as a black man is sitting there, you have your own type of experience and journey. I have mine as a black woman.
That's right.
Okay, and so we can both bring those to the table. We can have a comprehensive discussion, and we may not come out on the same side, but at least we've had that discussion, because there's always a chance that we may come out on the same side.
That's right.
So, and I think that's important, and that's missing right now on the Supreme Court.
Well, is it anything else you want to say to the people? Because we could go to break, and then we can come back and we can open the phone lines up so that you can ask questions. Mm-hmm. If you have anything to say, if you want to call the judge, you can. So, Dice, we'll take, what about comments, Dice? Do we have any comments so far? Okay, well, let's take a small break, and then we come back. We'll open those lines up. And
okay,
then we'll continue
sounds good.
Judge, and thank you for coming again, Judge.
Thank you.
Yeah. Folks, I want to thank you for tuning in to Reaching Out with Eddie with Judge, let me get her name right. I have not been, it's Judge Latrice Westbrooks. I want to thank you for tuning in. And Judge, could you tell us a little bit about your personal experiences as an appeal court judge, and then a little bit about your family life, if you don't mind, your education, if you don't mind?
No,
we want to get that. And also your platform. We got to touch upon your platform.
Sure.
So, you've already talked about the things that you've done, and the things that you're able to do, and what it is that you do. Mm-hmm. And so just tell us a little bit of maybe some of your personal experiences.
Okay, well, thank you. Well, first of all, I grew up in Memphis. I went to high school there, and I went to college in Austin Peay State University, right outside Fort Campbell, Kentucky. And I went to law school in Detroit, Michigan, University of Detroit Mercy.
Right. I
moved to Mississippi full time in '97, and I started out as a prosecutor, and moved into private practice after that, and went out on my own and became a public defender. But prior to moving to Mississippi in '97, my Mississippi roots go way long before then, or started long before then. My grandparents and my mother were all born in Tallahatchie County in Webb, Mississippi. That's way over in the Delta. And in the 50s, my grandfather moved the family to Memphis, but my great-grandparents and my grandmother's family all remained in the Delta. And so my family is still by and large in Webb, Mississippi, in Clarksdale, of course, and Clarksdale and Webb and Greenwood. And so I have a large family, cousins, and still a wealth of family there. And so, yeah, so I credit my grandfather with my having a strong sense of, an appreciation for Mississippi, for family and country living.
Why law?
Why law?
Yes.
I always wanted to be a lawyer.
Yeah.
I didn't
Dustin Markham went to the same college. That's his alma mater.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
It is.
Did not know.
And I have a lot of family in Memphis, Tennessee.
Do you? Okay. Well, they say Memphis is nothing but North Mississippi anyway.
Yeah.
And I agree.
And he grew up in Memphis.
Okay. Yeah. Did you graduate from high school there?
I did.
Where?
I graduated from Wooddale.
Did you?
Uh-huh.
I went to Wooddale Junior High.
Is that right?
I sure did. Yeah.
We're gonna have to find out the years.
Okay. Yeah, we could work on that. And graduated from Overton High School. So, but yeah. So, in my, we talk about, before we got back on the show, we were talking about stepfathers and fathers, and so my mother was a single parent. She raised me as a single parent. And for reasons I don't care to know, it doesn't matter now. My father was absent between the ages of 8 and 18.
Right.
And he passed away in 2014, but he was a Vietnam vet, received a Purple Heart. And our relationship was good. I want to say, we had a good relationship when he transitioned. But then his absence, my mother's first husband, Jeff, also a Vietnam vet, helped raise me.
Okay.
And so, I know about, having to be raised by a single parent, and have the absence of the father, but also have somebody who was willing to step in and fill those shoes. And my grandfather did that as well. So not only was he granddaddy, he was daddy.
Yeah.
So I know a lot of us know about that too. So I come with an experience that I know is shared by a lot of us in the community, in the African American community, and coming from humble means. No matter your background, you understand. I understand the lives and the needs of the average family.
Right.
And it's important to have those experiences. At the table, you talk about my work as an appellate court judge and my platform. Sometimes you just have to keep it real. And I have to, I've had to, and I respect my colleagues, but I've also had to remind them, look, what we do impacts real people. It's not just about writing an opinion and having it, read all eloquent and philosophical. What we do impacts real people. And so sitting at the table as a single daughter and having to express, single parents have to move in order to make their lives better for their children and themselves. And sometimes they have to move to more populated areas where the job opportunities are. And so that shouldn't be, the subject of a child custody dispute because they have to move. I've also had to write fighting for single fathers who have to leave more lucrative jobs to be closer to their children so they can help raise their children. So, looking at it from both sides, I've been at the table, arguing that as a public defender, just because someone is a judge doesn't mean that they have the experience of knowing about the criminal justice system. Right. And I've been in it, I've worked in it, I've, seen the good, bad, and ugly of it.
If you don't mind, could you pause a minute? Because that make me think about the current state of the United States Supreme Court with Amy Barrett. She doesn't really have the experience, I don't think, not as a judge. I think she's moving probably too fast. I don't know. What's your opinion on that, or you prefer not to?
I don't know if she's moving too fast. I think that I wish that the process would give a little bit more consideration to the fact that this is a presidential election, and let the people decide.
Right.
I do believe that, just like 4 years ago when Barack Obama was about to leave office, and they were like, let the people decide. Well, why don't you let the people decide now?
Right.
Let the people decide. And so I do think that her nomination, to the Supreme Court, and the only thing I would say is that, there needs to be diversity on the court.
Right.
Mississippi's population, women comprise of 51.5% of the population here in Mississippi.
Wow.
But that's not represented on the Mississippi Supreme Court. To be quite frank with you, it's not even represented on the Court of Appeals, even though we have more women serving on the Court of Appeals now. Right. The Court of Appeals is 40% women. We have 4 women on the Court of Appeals out of 10 judges.
Let's just say, call it the ceiling. Is it hard to crack that ceiling, to get on, to become a Supreme Court justice, a female, black female, or even just a white female, or a female in general?
It ain't easy. It's not easy,
Yeah. So what you're doing is kind of like groundbreaking.
Yeah, I think some people may say that. Yeah, some people may see it that way. But again, it doesn't come without the experience. I've been, practicing, in the profession now for 23 years. Mm-hmm. So that didn't just didn't happen yesterday. Although it goes by fast, it didn't just happen overnight. And so I have, a number of different types of professional experiences that my opponent does not have. And I just didn't, learn law by reading about it in the books. I learned law by practicing it, by being in the middle of it. And so you bring that experience with you. And again, like I said before, the diversity aspect, women have to be there, be at the tables, because we're making decisions about our sons.
That's right.
Making decisions about our men, making decisions about our households.
That's right.
And at the end of the day,
yourself.
And yourself. Absolutely, and yourself. So, where those decisions are being made and you have the majority of the men making them, but yet and still we are the majority of the population in the state. We had half of the households in the state, but where those decisions are being made about those households, we're not present.
That's right.
And so we need to be present on the Supreme Court, because most of the decisions that are being made that govern us are being made by the Supreme Court.
I think that was very well said, Judge. Is there anything else that you want to say to the peoples, or anything else that you need to discuss with the folks? Well, yes, we do. We need to tell you guys that you need to get out and vote. I got to be myself just a little bit. I went as Two Belt. I got a brother, I call him Two Belt. Mm-hmm. I tell you.
Two Belt.
I call him that.
Tool Belt.
Tool Belt, like a tool belt.
Like a tool belt, okay.
I call him that because, we both builders. Mm-hmm. I use the blueprints. I draw blueprints. I read blueprints. I use all the pneumatic tools. All he had was a tool belt, a hammer, and a saw and a ruler. That's it.
That's it.
I mean, like the Egyptian, I guess the people that was building it during, Pharaoh's time. Mm-hmm. That's the way my brother is. And I tell you, it's kind of like when John Henry had against the steam shovel. Mm-hmm. I had the steam shovel, and he had the sledgehammer. We was on the roof. He had taught me how to do it. I went, pow, pow. Man, I tell you, he still with me. Tool Belt can build anything, so I call him Tool Belt. So this is the first time I can't say he's not in my head, but he is in my head. But I know that he's listening and he's watching, and a lot of people will watch. And so it's important that you get your message across. But we really need you guys to get out and vote.
Yeah.
Some of you, I was surprised to hear that Shaquille O'Neal voted for the first time this year. I would have kept that to myself had I been him.
I don't know if I would have kept it to myself. You know, people need to. Well, first of all, I'm surprised to hear that. Number one, as educated as he is, and considering his
his age, he's not as old as I am. Yeah, and
his upbringing. Yeah. But there are a lot of Shaquille O'Neals out there.
That's right.
And when you don't vote, you are, you know, giving someone else the opportunity to make a decision for you. Voting is the great equalizer. It's like education. It's the great equalizer. You know, all of us have 24 hours in a day, and all of us have one vote.
That's right.
So that puts me on the same equal footing as you. That puts me on the same equal footing as, you know, Cray Cray up on 1600 Pennsylvania Street.
Right.
That puts me on the same footing as everybody. So you know,
gotta don't even tell people where 1600 Pennsylvania. That's the West Wing, folks.
I'm just saying, you know, but that puts us on the same level. Period.
Right.
And so you know, you cannot sit back and say that my vote does not matter. Your vote does matter, because all the decisions that are being made. The young lady that I was telling you about, who I had a conversation with this morning. All of the decisions that are being made in the cases of Ahmaud Arbery, George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Jacob Blake, all of the decisions that are being made in those cases are being made by elected officials. I'm looking straight into the camera right now because I need you to hear me. All of those decisions are being made by elected officials. From the police chief is chosen by the mayor. The coroner in Mississippi, I can't speak for any other state in the union, but I know that the coroner in Mississippi is elected. The coroner is the person who decides whether or not it's a homicide, an accident, or a suicide. The coroner gives their report to the district attorney. The district attorney is of course elected. So is the AG.
Right.
Your judges. If the DA wants to indict, the indictment goes to the circuit clerk. That's a filing. The circuit clerk is elected. Right. And that brings into the court system. And now you've involved a judge. All the judges in Mississippi, except for your municipal judges, are elected. So when you sit back and you don't vote, you're allowing these people to make decisions about something that is happening in your household, in your communities, in your churches, on your jobs, and you're not having anything to say about it because you didn't take the time to go simply cast a vote. So go and vote, because the decisions, again, are being made, and even on the Supreme Court level, the decisions that are being made at the Supreme Court level. So we need to vote, and we need to have a say-so in how decisions are being made. We follow the law. We do. But at the end of the day, I'm bringing my experience to the table. I'm bringing our experiences to the table, and we're having discussions about that. So let's get to the polls and let's vote, people. Do you want to share my information? I can share my information.
I want you to share your information because you're doing such a good job, and this is about you today. This is a special show for Judge Westbrook. And so this is Reaching Out with Judge Westbrook today. So you share your information.
So if you want to be involved, please call 844-VOTE-LAW. That's VOTELAW, VOTE-LAW. 844 is a toll-free number. Also, we are located in Jackson. Our headquarters are located in Jackson at the corner of State Street and Tom-Bigby. But the other thing I want the voters to know is that we have 22 counties in this district. So we have Bolivar, Claiborne, Copiah, Hines, Holmes, Humphreys, Issaquena, Jefferson, Kemper, Lauderdale, Leake, Madison, Neshoba, Newton, Noxubee, Rankin, Scott, Sharkey, Sunflower, Warren, Washington, and Yazoo. I'm going to say the last four: Sunflower, Warren, where Vicksburg is, Washington, and Yazoo counties. And so I need your support in all 22 of these counties in order to win this race, people. So this is very important. I just don't want you to just pay attention to the federal elections. They are important. But the farther you go down the ballot, the more those races impact your everyday lives. And so the Mississippi Supreme Court is one of those races. Please, Central District, Latrice Westbrooks, that's Latrice, WESTBROOKS. I'll be the only Latrice on the ballot. I'll be the only Westbrooks on the ballot. I'm the only woman in the race for the Mississippi Supreme Court. Please, please, please vote for me. Now, I understand we are opening up the phone lines. I used to have a radio show called Ask Latrice the Lawyer, so it's really kind of natural to me now. So we are opening up the phone line. So please ask me a question if you like to know something about Judge Westbrooks, candidate for the Mississippi Supreme Court. I'd be more than happy to answer them.
And also, Judge, you could give an est address. They could perhaps maybe email those questions to you.
Yes. Okay, so my email address is info at westbrooks2020.com. That's info at westbrooks2020.com. And we have a website, westbrooks2020.com. We tried to make it as simple as possible.
We kind of did that right here because everything is like reaching out with Eddie at yahoo.com. It's reaching out with Eddie. Yeah. Make it simple.
Yep.
Be surprised how simple it's not, because they said, will you write that down for me? What is that you just said? Do you know my name? Do you reaching out? You're reaching out to me now. But anyway, Judge, Dice, any comments?
We had one, but she already answered it. I can still read it, though. Just a second here. Yeah, caught me in the middle of something. Okay. All right, Judge. Let's see what we got for you.
Come on, Wooddale High School. Come on.
Ah, man. What you know about Wooddale? All right, let me see. I think it was Miss Brenda Gordon. And I clicked off. She wanted you to pronounce your name for one, and you already did that.
So it's Latrice. It's like Patrice, but with an L.
Okay.
So Latrice. Latrice, like Lala Anthony. Latrice Westbrooks, yes.
I got to get you. I would love to have been in your courtroom when you was a judge before you. You say
municipal judge?
Yes, I think I would have enjoyed that.
Well, you know what, I will say this. I did have one young lady come up to me. She was my problem child. I mean, if there was a fight, she was in the middle of it. If there was something going on in Lexington, she had to be all up in it. And so one day, she got caught up, and I said, "You going to jail?" And she, saw me about a year or so later. She said, "Thank you. I got my life together. I got it straight." So, it's stories like those that I like to hear. So, yeah.
Well, Judge, I guess.
So I got your comment here. Let me read it for you right quick.
Okay.
All right. Brenda Gordon says, "Good afternoon. Thanks for the clarity provided regarding the duties of this position. Please repeat your name for me. Thanks."
Okay. Well, thank you, Miss Brenda Gordon, for your comment. And again, it's Latrice Westbrooks. And I also want to make very clear that Justice Leslie King will also be on the ballot, but Justice Leslie King and I are not in the same race. So you can actually, this is Mississippi's time. This is our time in Mississippi. This is the chance that our ancestors have been waiting for. Right. We can actually put two African Americans on the Supreme Court at the same time, on the same day, on the same ballot. So Justice Leslie King is running for the Central District position 2. Okay. He is running unopposed. And I am running for Central District position 1. Right. And we will both have an opportunity. I will have an opportunity to serve with him. He's been on the court now for years. Justice Jim Kitchens ran 4 years ago. And actually my opponent ran against Justice Jim Kitchens, and the people said, we don't want you. So they did not, they voted him down and voted Justice Jim Kitchens to the seat.
Well, I hope they said the same thing this time too.
Yeah, praying and believing for it. Yeah. Yes.
And hard work.
Absolutely, absolutely. So again, it's Latrice Westbrook, Central District, position 1. I've named the 22 counties. I've left them here with Mr. Eddie Holt. So in case anyone wants to call, and I guess I can put that up against the camera. I don't know if you can see it.
Oh yeah.
But that's those.
And if counties. You send it to me, we could place it up on our website.
I will definitely do that. Yeah. I'll definitely do that. But again, let's vote and move the needle of justice in a direction where all of us can be represented and have our voices heard. And I think it's time for that.
And I agree with it. One thing that we're going to do, when you explain so eloquently why we should vote and how we vote everything, how it affects our life. Dice, I definitely need you to kind of like take that little portion out. So when we have our show Tuesday, I need for that to be played Tuesday.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, voting is important, you know, and it's the one place where we actually have a say-so.
We're going to send it to you also,
okay.
Because once you get that, and then and plus we're going to end it with you saying what you're getting ready to say now. I want to thank you guys for listening, and we're going to let Judge Latrice Westbrooks take us home and tell Dice Man to take us home. But I want you to, the last thing I want you to say is that, hey, vote, when to vote. Where to go vote, and hey, and who to vote for.
All right. Well, first of all, I want you to vote for me, Latrice Westbrooks. That's LatriceWestbrooks. Yes, I spelled my own name. But for the Mississippi Supreme Court, Central District, Position 1. Mississippi Supreme Court, Central District, Position 1. And I want us to all remember, this is my last quote, voting, like I said, is like education. It is the great equalizer. Just like we all have 24 hours in a day, we all have one vote. Voting moves the needle of justice in a direction that ensures we are represented at tables where critical decisions are being made. And so let's all make sure we get out and vote on November 3rd. Latrice Westbrooks, Mississippi Supreme Court, Central District, Position 1.
Dice Man, take us home.